How to rig super simply in Blender 3.1. I'm going to show you how to do it with several different objects. One is a box, another is kind of these two stylized characters, and then the last one will be a human character. So I'm going to hide all of them except for the box to start. We're in this collection, and I'm going to actually just start by creating a armature single bone. It appears where the origin is, so I'm going to just move it over. And I'm gonna see through the object and just place it in the middle. Looking at the side view now, I actually want to snap it so it's aligned with the back here, because that's where the lip or the fold of this box will be. Then I'll go into edit mode again, and I'll just bring this up to align here. I'm gonna extrude again, align here, and then again, we'll align it over here. So this is it for the box rig. It's super easy. I'm gonna go back into object mode, and I'm going to take my box mesh, and I'm gonna then click my armature, and then I'll do Control P to parent. And I want to do an armature deform with empty groups. Empty groups basically means there is no weight painting. There's no auto assigned weights. We're gonna do that manually ourselves now. So if I were to click on the armature and do Control Tab to toggle to pose mode, so you can see up here it toggles between pose and object mode. In pose mode, you can actually rotate and move the armature, but it's currently not affecting the mesh. And you'll see the mesh is now inside the armature. So to get it to affect the mesh, we first want to go into, we'll go into the mesh here and go into vertices. And we did it super quick, but we kind of know bone 0 or the first bone here is this one, and bone 1 is this one, and this one. We could always kind of like go in here and rename it. I'll call this lid, and then if we click here on the mesh, you see it's already renamed. And then I guess just for the sake of this, I'll also do lid, and so it's a little clearer. So we want to start with the first bone. To do that, I'm going to go into here, select these vertices, excluding these two from the lid, and I'm going to just select a weight of 1 and click assign. Then I'm going to click lid, and I'm actually going to select everything here, and I am going to click 1 again, and then for the lid end, I'm going to go here, select these, and click assign. So let's see if this worked. Now back into pose mode. If I move this, the whole box moves as we'd want. We can rotate it. If I use this one, it also rotates. And then if I use this one, it also rotates. So one thing you may notice is actually the rotation of this end lid is not 1-to-1, and we want it to be 1-to-1. This one's perfect. This one's perfect, but this one's not working. So I'm actually going to select all the bones, do Alt-R, so it's back to its original rotation. And I know why this isn't working. It's because we actually, for the lid, we assigned the lid end to also be it. So it's kind of averaging the rotation between this bone and this bone to assign the lid end mesh position. So to fix that, we'd actually go back into the lid, and we have this already selected. This is lid end, and we're gonna just set this to 0 and click assign. Now when we go back into pose mode, you can see now it's 1-to-1. It's exactly how we want it to be. And if you have trouble understanding, oh, was this weight painted or was it not? One way to do that is to go into the mesh, do again Control Tab, and you can do weight paint. And now you can actually click each bone and see what is weight painted and what is not. So if we had lid before, when this was assigned, you kind of see back in weight paint mode, it's all red. So what we did was quickly bring it to 0 and remove those weights. And now we have a box that's perfectly rigged. We're going to go to the next one. And now we have a stylized Kirby character. So this Kirby character is made up of separate meshes. I'm actually using a mirror modifier, so I'm going to actually apply this So in general, all rigged meshes, they need to have, they don't need to have all their modifiers applied, but they definitely need to have a mirror modifier applied. And now that I bring up modifiers, I remembered I also had a bevel and a solidified to make this box a little bit visually more appealing, and still the rig works perfectly as if that geometry we didn't actually have to deal with. Okay, so back to this Kirby character. We had just applied the mirror modifier, and now we need to make a rig. So to start, I'm going to create an armature single bone again. I'm going to go to front view, wireframe. I'm going to just snap it here, kind of figure out where the base of this body is. And now that we have this, I'm going to extrude an arm there, and I'm going to extrude a foot there. So when we're doing rigs, we want to think about where we want the pivot point to be. So for instance, the arm, do we actually want it to rotate from here? The answer could be yes, but just for the purpose of showing you some new techniques, I'm going to show you how to change that position. So one thing we may want to do is move this, but then you can see like the middle spine is moving. We don't actually want these to be connected anymore. So again, I'm in edit mode. If I go into the bone and I go into relations, currently it has a parent and it's connected. So if I remove this connected part, now I can actually take this and I can move it. So I can move where I want this pivot point to be. We're gonna kind of just eyeball it to, I don't know, let's just say here for now. We can also make sure the leg here is also not connected, and then we could actually move this to where we'd like as well. For the leg, I want it to be somewhere in the body. I'll just leave it there for now. And in edit mode, I'm gonna name this arm left with a .L. And I'm gonna do a leg .L. And if you're wondering, hey, this is on the right side, why are you doing .L? I always think of it in the point of view of the character. So this is to the character, their left arm. All right, so why did I even bother doing the rename on this? So one thing that's really nice in Blender is if you rename a bone or two bones, you can select them, then you could do a symmetrize. And it's gonna automatically create the other bones with a mirror based on this main armature's origin. And it's gonna automatically name it leg R. So we have leg L, leg R, and then this one, arm R and arm L. So now that we have that, we basically wanna select all of our meshes. I'm actually gonna move this armature into this collection. So we're going to select all the meshes. We're going to make sure this one's selected as the active object, and then I'll do Control P. And again, I'm going to do armature deform with empty groups. I'm going to manually assign the groups. Okay, so just as before with the box, if we go into pose, nothing's doing anything because right now nothing is weight painted. All right, so now into the weight painting. If we go into this mesh, we have all the bones for the body. Specifically, they're all set to 0 right now because we did the empty groups when we parented. And for this, you'll see actually because we used the mirror object or mirror modifier and then we applied it, both of these are in a single mesh. That's no problem. I'm actually going to go into edit mode. I'm going to click L hovering over this to just select the left arm. And then the left arm, I'll set this to 1. I'll click assign, click off, click this with an L. And, oh, did I do leg? Okay, that was a mistake. We're going to set this to 0. We wanted arm L. Not sure if I did that right or wrong, but then we'll do arm right. So now if we go into here, you see the arms are already moving. And let's just finish it up by finishing this rig. We'll do the body, and the body is this unnamed bone. We'll do the legs, same thing we did with the arms. click L, L, and now we have a fully rigged Kirby that we could walk around with, move, we could animate this, all sorts of things. The one thing you may notice is the feet and the body aren't connected. So we're gonna just fix that real quick. I'm gonna go into edit mode, and in the leg, we're gonna go here. And we didn't want it connected, but we do want it to be parented. And I'm gonna do that here. And parented basically just means with this main bone, this mesh will, the feet bones will move with it. And then you could do a really cool animation and play around with that as much as you like. Do some sort of fun Kirby stuff. And like I said before, if you ever want to bring things back, you can select all the bones. You could do Alt-G, Alt-R, you could just do an Alt-T to reset all the transforms. For some reason, Alt-T didn't work. I thought it did, but okay. I guess you could do Alt-G and Alt-R. All right, so we rigged a box and a Kirby. On to the next one. The next one is a stylized horse. This one I'll show you some IK as well. Again, I'm gonna create a single bone. We're gonna start where the hip is, or where we want it to be. I'm going to go into edit mode. I like to do this in general in wireframe mode. And I'm gonna kind of just eyeball where I think I want things to bend potentially. And here I'm going to start to name these things. And I'm actually going to do a few bones here if we want it to look a little noodly, a little stylized. I'm going to call this shoulder right, leg 1 right. I'll just leg 2, leg 3, and leg 4. Okay, I just realized it's not, I'm gonna actually rotate it like this. I prefer to rig in general so that the front of the character is always facing the Y, so when we symmetrize, we won't have any issues. And I'm actually going to just take this mesh and I'm going to apply the rotation, and I am also going to take this rig and I'll apply the rotation as well. All right, so let's get back into the rig. I think we just finished naming all the bones here, so we could actually select these and do symmetrize. For the sake of this tutorial, I mean, I could do every single bone, but I think I'll just do the front legs for the sake of time. And we'll just kind of align these here. If I want to symmetrize this, I'd have to go through and rename each of these. So I'm gonna just not do that for now, just to create a simpler, quicker tutorial for you. So I'm basically gonna select these objects like I did before. We're gonna make sure the bones or the armature is the active object. It's the one with a more orangey or lighter orange color. Control P. This time, instead of doing empty groups, we're gonna do it with automatic weights. So Blender actually has a way to automatically weight paint based on the position of these bones in the mesh. And you'll see it actually does a really good job. And you can really get a lot of amazing animations with very little work here. So I'm actually gonna get those rotations back. And one thing some people like to do is, you can't really see the rig right now, so I'm actually gonna select the rig, and then in viewport visibility, I'm gonna select in front, so then no matter what, we can always quickly get access to that rig. Okay, so the one thing I wanna show you that's different here is, instead of painstakingly animating each part to get an animation, we can easily add an IK rig. So an IK rig basically means there will be an object. We can easily move that object around, and the bones will kind of follow to try and position themselves well for that animation. So you could really use anything for an IK rig, but you kind of need you want to at least a point where we want this position, this bone, to end up. So I'm going to create an additional bone. I'm going to, in here, just remove the parent, remove connected, and remove deform. Deform basically means, hey, is this bone going to deform the mesh? And I'm going to just call this leg handle right. Okay. And the bone which the IK will end at, it will be this one. So in pose mode, I'm going to go into here and we can add something called inverse kinematics. I'm going to say the target is this new bone that we made. What did I call that? I called it leg handle right. And the chain length is basically how many bones will it be affecting. So it will never be 0 if you're going to use IK. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes it's a little hard. I think it would be 1, 2, 3. So I think that would be the right amount. And you can kind of see now we can just move this around and it's all noodly. One issue is the solver or the algorithm doesn't know always which direction to bend this leg. So back in edit mode, I can create something called a pall. Again, this could be like an empty object, but a lot of people like to do it in the rig, so it's all self-contained and it's kind of your controllers. So I'm going to, again, remove the parent, remove connected, remove deform. Did I do that right? Okay. I think I had multiple bones selected when I was trying to move it before. I'm going to just move it out a little bit, and back in pose mode on this, we can actually do a pall target right here. And let me actually just name this leg pall dot right. Okay, and then back into pose mode, we want to select the pall we just made, and then pall angle, I think we put 180. It's still looking like it wasn't 90. I think it's minus 90. There we go. You kind of have to play with it. I think usually it's minus 90, but you play with variations of 90 degrees and you'll eventually get it. And now that we have the pall there, you can see there's still an issue. So why is there still an issue? So one thing is with rigging, you never really want to rig joints completely straight like I did. I just extruded them down, down, down. If you have a chain like this, you actually kind of want to just give it a little bit of a bend so that the solver can kind of understand a little bit better the directionality of what this leg is doing. So now that we've done that in edit mode, back into pose mode, the pall is working just fine. And now we could have a much easier to animate walking horse. And obviously we could do this to each leg. If there's certain things you want to tweak in terms of the effect of which the bones are applied to the mesh, so let's say you find this bone's affecting a little too much over here, or even if we did the IK, we could do it on the fourth, so then kind of the whole upper body is also moving. We could take this mesh, we'll go into weight paint mode, and we can kind of just go into the shoulder right. So you can see this bone's affecting several areas, and we could tweak the weights here. So in the tools section, in general, when tweaking weight paints, I like to have this really low. You kind of want to just make super light tweaks. So you could weight paint by clicking. That's annoying. It controls the jump back to the original bone. Where's shoulder right? Here we go. And I'm gonna actually just do a little subtraction. Or is it erase alpha? No, it's subtract. Okay. And I can kind of just lightly, not even maybe too much. I'll lower the strength had restarted. So we'll lower the strength and we can kind of just touch it up like that. And perhaps we'll think this looks better. Back into object mode, back into pose mode, and now we can animate this and we can continue to tweak depending on what our animation is. Maybe the leg won't even go this high up, for example, so it won't be an issue. But that's the general sense for doing another stylized character. And one thing that's really nice about having the paw and the handle be part of this rig is if we animate or move this whole rig, it always stays uniform and local to this object. All right, and the last one is a human character. So we could go about it similar to how we just did that horse. If you're gonna have a semi-realistic human with, let's say, fingers and normal anatomy, I actually like to use an add-on called Rigify. So you can just search for Rigify. It comes with Blender. You click add. And now if we were to add an armature, you'll see there's actually additional options here. I'm gonna just click the collection. And here I'm gonna use a human meta rig. So here is the rig that Rigify comes with. I'll just scale it up. We'll get it to be somewhat similar. Doesn't have to be perfect. And here I am also going to delete all these face bones because we're not going to go into that much detail. And let's see what this bone's called. This bone's called face, so I'm going to delete this bone as well. And here I'm going to also add symmetry so I can start to move these objects and affect both arms at the same time. For this specific rig, we actually don't need the hands. Maybe I'll keep them in there just to show you what happens with Rigify. The legs are actually somewhat good with this model. Going to just move it around a little bit. And maybe the leg sockets will also be over here. I think that looks pretty good. In general, when you rig a hand, you want the palms to be facing downward, just like the Rigify mesh. So I could actually take these two and I could rotate these 90 degrees just so they're more accurate. We're not going to do the hands in this, but just to show you that. And again, we're going to just go into viewport display and put it in front. We can go into here and we'll click generate rig. It'll automatically create a Rigify rig with a lot of ways to deform it. This is too small though, so the reason it created it small is because we didn't apply the scale. We had scaled up that human meta rig that we had created. So once we apply the scale, we can go back in here, do regenerate or generate rig. We can hide our original meta rig. We'll select everything, have our meta rig as the active object, and we'll Control P, and we're going to armature deform with automatic weights again. And now we have this rig that has like all these really cool handles that will let us more easily animate and give us things like IK by default without having to do any extra work, which is super helpful. we can kind of pose it up. In general, this is it for rigging super simply in Blender. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. If you found this tutorial helpful, please drop a like and a subscription, and I'll see you in the next one.